Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Friday, February 3rd. I'm Gary Stevens. First Friday of the month at this time, we catch up with what is going on with the Community Foundation of the Holland, Zeeland area. And to do so, we have a chance to chat via the Zoom connection with the president of the Community Foundation, Mike Goorhouse. Mike, good morning and happy February.
Good morning. Thanks, Gary.
You got a question about what's going on at the CFHC? Mike will be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. Let's begin with our conversation about dealing with mental health. It has been more and more in the public eye. The concerns about mental health have grown as a result of us being #alone together for the last nearly 3 years. The CFHC is helping organizations trying to address those mental health issues, aren't they?
Yeah. The data is not good. And you've seen it in lots of different news sources and media and frankly, just, living life and talking to friends and family and neighbor and yourself, right? It's been a highly anxious time for all of us. And the data is not great on the direction that our mental health is going. So this is a key part of the foundation's priorities right now. We identified 3 priorities for the next 3 years to focus on. One of them is mental health. And so this is our first grant round since we've named mental health as a specific priority. So what that means for us is this is a round of grants where everyone who applied was applying for resources specifically to address mental health needs. In our decisions, all of our grants are related to that. Usually, and we'll do this as well, 2 times a year, we'll have kind of an open call for any issue or topic that someone's addressing in the community. But we'll also have 1 time a year where just folks can apply for mental health resources. So we did award 5 grants for $150,000 to organizations doing great work to address these needs in our community. The largest was a $50,000 grant over the course of 2 years to City on a Hill Ministries Health Clinic in Zeeland at City on a Hill Ministries. And they have been doing some really good work around behavioral health, which is mental health, behavioral health are kind of often very interchangeable, but integrating that into some of the physical health services that they provide. They started as a place primarily for physical health needs, and they've been integrating more mental health supports because many people who come into their shop are underinsured or uninsured folks who don't have the same ability to access mental health services in the private market. And so this grant will help them add additional counseling services. So when someone comes in because they're sick or they need medicine or they need a checkup, they can also be screened and provided mental health services at the same time while in their same place, which is a really good model to co-locate mental health services where other things are. We also give a $30,000 grant to Bethany Christian Services to expand their mental health services specifically for their Hispanic Latino community members, where Spanish is the first and primary language for individuals. So this grant will help them hire a bilingual therapist. So many of their clients, about a third of their clients identify as Hispanic or Latino. Many, and not all of those prefer services in Spanish, but some do. And so this therapist will be able to provide those kinds of when you're talking mental health, trust is a big deal. Being able to talk about complex things is a big deal. So having the client be able to use the language of preference for them is important, and having Bethany have some staff member fluent in Spanish will be a huge help. So $30,000 to Bethany Christian Services to help them increase their capacity in that way. We also gave $30,000 to Ladder Homes. Ladder Homes provides shelter or homes for community members who are unsheltered. In this case, we're going to help them it's one piece of a pie to help them buy a new home specifically for members of our community who are unsheltered but have a very severe mental illness as well. And so there's kind of specific environment, specific kinds of shelter that is most important, relevant, and responsible when someone has a very high mental illness. And so we were proud to be part of Ladder Homes in trying to acquire a new house specifically for this purpose. Also, our fourth grant was to Arbor Circle, a $20,000 grant to Arbor Circle, very similar to the other ones, to add mental health services to their existing repertoire of things that they serve people for. And so, again, adding staff capacity to serve more people, in particular kids, focus on kids in that case. And then the other end of the age spectrum, our last grant was to Evergreen Commons of $20,000 for a mental health program called Pearls. And that is for folks over 55 who often go to Evergreen Commons for lots of things. And while they're there, again, co-located services is a really good model, can receive access to mental health services. So we're really excited that Evergreen Commons is prioritizing this and adding additional services on site. And so we were proud to be one small piece of that effort through this Pearls program. And the Pearls program is a national program that is designed specifically for older adults. And it's interesting as you think about mental health and addressing it across the community, different demographics and different people need services slightly different. And for many in our community who are 55 and older, receiving counseling or mental health services wasn't very common through much of their life. And so there's a stigma very much attached to it. And so providing services in a place where those folks are already going makes it more natural, makes it feel more expected, and that can help lower the barrier for people to access those services. So 5 grants, $150,000. Our first round specifically focused on mental health and try to tackle it from a lot of different angles, as you could tell, a wide variety of organizations. And that's what we need. There's not one fix to this. There's not one solution that's going to solve it all. So we got to provide different entry points, different organizations coming at it from different angles. And if we build all of that capacity up, hopefully more folks will be able to find services when they need them.
Mike, you mentioned about the fact that this was the first round to open up for mental health. Is this going to be like an annual thing or a quarterly thing or a half-year thing, biannual thing? What?
Yeah, so we will do one round a year specifically around mental health. And then, so all the mental health grants will come at one time and we can compare them together. A good way that we talk about it here is when we review grants, and folks, many listeners probably haven't had the privilege or experience to do this, but when you review grants, it can be difficult when you're comparing what we call apples to oranges to peaches to pears. So if you have a grant that's focused on youth compared to housing, compared to the arts, compared to, they're very, very different. And so sometimes it gets easier if you're comparing apples to apples. And so by putting all the mental health grants in the same round, we can look at all of the mental health grants together and not be comparing them to all kinds of other things and saying, of the various applications that came in, what do we think is going to create the most amount of impact for our community? And that allows us to hopefully make even better decisions. And so once a year, we'll do all the mental health grants. And then in a couple months, we're going to do a round of grants around education, specifically for out of school time, after school and summer school. We'll put all those in one bucket, and then we'll do one bucket annually for organizations working to increase the consistency and positive parent involvement in kids' lives. We'll do all those in one. So 3 times a year will be specific, and then 2 times a year will be open funnel. Anyone could apply for anything. So we'll have 5 rounds a year. And that'll kind of be how, and that's new for us. This is a new approach, but we think it'll allow for good decision making while also being open to any ideas across all issue areas too.
Mike, you beat me to the punch about asking about whether other topics will be going on in the future ones, and you answered it already about the fact that there will be other ones over the next 4 rounds for 2023.
Yeah.
Mike, tell us a little bit about this Strengthening the Nonprofit Sector program that the CFHZ is undergoing. It has a lot of good things about it, and it's something that, let's just say, giving the nonprofits a little bit of that boost that they need.
Yeah, no, we are really excited about this. And I think I shared maybe several months ago about the fact that we were raising some resources to get after this. So we've been doing this work for a decade. We doubled down and committed some additional resources of our own, but then also invited other contributors, companies and families in town to join us. And we were very successful in raising $1.7 million to invest in this work. And so the first of those investments are happening now, which is the fun part. Not that it's not fundraising money, but it's most fun when you can deploy the resources to make an impact. And so a couple of things are going on. One is the Lakeshore Nonprofit Alliance is one of our core partners in doing this work. They provide services to, I think their latest numbers are over 200 member nonprofits in our community. And one of their flagship programs is called Lead 24/7, which actually is a partnership with a firm out of Zeeland that Roger Price started that was recently acquired by Disher. So Disher now owns Leading by Design and this flagship program called Lead 24/7. But Lakeshore Nonprofit Alliance runs it specifically for nonprofit leaders. And they've been doing it for once a year for 9 nonprofit executive directors. But we are able to provide them resources to be able to do a second cohort every year. And the second cohort will be for folks who aren't currently executive directors, but who are in important leadership roles in organizations. They could be a vice president or a COO or an assistant director. And so folks that are providing meaningful leadership, but aren't the executive director of their organization. So we'll be able to do 2 cohorts per year, one for executive directors and one for not executive directors. And that's a big deal because those folks are oftentimes going to be executive directors and even now are in very important leadership roles. So we're excited to be able to do a second cohort of folks through that impactful program. We also are launching a technical assistance fund, matching fund for nonprofit organizations. Sometimes nonprofits hit a moment where they have to do something that's not kind of their normal course of business, where an outside consultant or entity or process could be helpful to them. So think, an organization hits a legal issue or a crisis moment, they have to do crisis communication or strategic planning that they might not do on a regular basis. Those services often cost a lot of money, and so we have started a technical assistance fund where nonprofits can apply to help cover those costs. So if they're going to have an outside person help them redesign some infrastructure or do something that's kind of a one-time special thing that's needed to be done that carries with it cost, we will help match their dollars to access those resources. We find this to be really important because sometimes with nonprofits having limited resources, they can be tempted to maybe not hire the best possible resources out there, just to save money. And honestly, I totally understand why, because we want to put every dollar towards feeding more kids or building more homes or whatever the mission is. And so this is just kind of that extra incentive to say, no, let's get the right help, the right additional capacity, the right additional resources, and let's just provide some matching dollars to help you do that. So that's being launched in the coming months here because of this campaign, which is really exciting. And then we increased our support for the Lakeshore Nonprofit Alliance and Community Spoke, which are organizations that work across all our different nonprofits to help strengthen their capacity. They just had a big event yesterday called Nonprofit Next. It's their annual gathering, and there were hundreds of people there. It was a great morning. Dr. Tracy Brower, who actually is a local, lives here in Holland, Zeeland, but works for Steelcase, came, and she's kind of the guru of happiness at work. And it's interesting, we had these hundreds of nonprofit professionals all in the room learning from Dr. Brower about how do we create environments where our team can be frankly happy and joyful because people are more productive, we serve our clients better. And that's the kind of example where individual nonprofits wouldn't bring in Dr. Tracy Brower to their organization, but the Lakeshore Nonprofit Alliance can bring her in, and we can all go together for a morning breakfast and all get access to really good insights and wisdom all at the same time. And if we didn't have someone playing that coordinating function, there'd be no one to bring in the speaker, there'd be no one to plan and organize the event and the breakfast. And so it was a great day. It's a fun day. I think it's maybe their 8th or 9th in a row they've done that. And they brought in sometimes national speakers, sometimes a local person like this who's an expert, but it was particularly timely. I think there's a lot of, one of the points that she made is we, as a society, some of the data showing that in parts of our life, we are more happy than ever. And in parts of our life, we are less happy than ever. And work is a place that we're going through kind of this, what is work and when do I show up to work, and hybrid and virtual and in person. And so it was important work and sobering too. I think there was she shared some really good statistics about the correlation between happiness at work and happiness in your life. And it makes sense. A lot of us spend so much of our day at work, and if work isn't a positive, productive place, that's going to impact other parts of your life too. And it was a good challenge. It was a good challenge. So, anyways, those are the first 3 use of those dollars out the door. Washington Technical Assistance Matching Fund, the second cohort of Lead 24/7, and increased resources for Lakeshore Nonprofit Alliance, which is all good stuff. So it's fun to be able to put the resources to use.
If you want more information about what's going on at the Community Foundation of the Holland Zeeland area, online at cfhz.org, cfhz.org. You can call the foundation at 616-396-6590, 616-396-6590. Mike Goorhouse, as always, thank you very much for your time, telling me what's going on. Wish you and everybody at the CFHZ well, and look forward to chatting with you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike Goorhouse on WHTC.